Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo!
Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. Sugar. Let's talk about sugar. It is very addicting, especially if you have a sweet tooth. I grew up, honestly, on the more savory side. For me, fried foods, French fries, not gonna lie, were absolutely my favorite thing in the world. When it came to sweets, I actually didn't care for them so much. However, I will say, when I did start to eat them, it was really hard to stop. And I know I'm not alone in that. And I wanted to go over why sugar is as addicting as it is, and then how you can overcome it. Sugar, when we consume it, it releases dopamine in the brain, which basically is a pleasure hormone that gets secreted, and then it drops, and then we want more of it. So there's actually an addictive thing happening when you're consuming sugar. Now, what also happens when we consume sugar is our blood sugars go up, insulin gets secreted in the body, and our body is told to store fat, or over a repeated period of time, the excessive amount of sugar that we consume, the excessive amount of insulin that's secreted, then people can become insulin resistant, which then can lead to diabetes, which is why we want to decrease our sugar intake. It also causes cavities, we know. It's been linked to certain forms of cancer, and in excess can lead to high triglycerides, which puts a person at risk for developing a heart attack. Consuming too much sugar is not good at all. Where are these sources of sugar coming from? Usually added sources like soda, juice, iced tea, cakes, cookies, even some yogurts and cereals. And we really need to be mindful of how much sugar is too much sugar. Now, on a previous episode, I did discuss looking at the sugar content, and when it comes to snacking in particular, where you want to make sure that when you're reading the sugar underneath carbohydrates on the nutrition facts label, that it doesn't go into double digits. When we go into that double digit range, so like 10 grams or more per serving, you're more likely to overconsume your total consumption for the whole day. In general, the maximum amount of added sugar that we should be taking in each day is 6 teaspoons for women, which is about 24 grams, and 9 teaspoons for men, which is about 36 grams of sugar. Actually sounds like a lot, but if we start to think of all the things that have little hidden sugars, we can totally blow that with a glass of soda, or 1 to 2 really, really sweet cookies, or just fruit juice, because we're losing the fiber when we drink the fruit juice. So it's actually not as difficult as we think. Now, with that being said, as you start to decrease the sugar that you intake, you might then substitute and use a sugar substitute. Now, if you are diabetic or you have high triglycerides, and you really do need to monitor the amount of excessive sugar that goes into your body, then using a sugar substitute at first is not the worst thing in the world. And also, if you're on a weight loss plan and you want less calories, then the sugar substitutes are sugar-free. However, sugar substitutes also can cause GI distress, and meaning you're gastrointolerant, your GI meaning gastrointestinal, so it cause gas or diarrhea or bloating. And some people have even experienced headaches or migraines. The thing with sugar substitutes is they're concentratedly sweet. So although they don't have any calories and they're not actually giving you sugar, so therefore there is no insulin spike when you have it, it does taste concentratedly sweet. So that dopamine that your brain thinks it's still getting. So that addictiveness to the sugar will remain constant, whether it's regular sugar or a sugar substitute. And we do not want to continue to have that craving of sugar, because that's never going to bring you to the ultimate goal of your health, which is limiting the added sugar, whether artificial or regular, in the diet. Because even the things that have artificial sweeteners are usually in processed foods. Think about it. No natural or whole food actually has sugar sweeteners, sugar substitutes, which is why we need to be mindful that although it's an alternative to real sugar, it's still not whole food in its whole form. So regular sugar, although it's natural, in excess is still unhealthy. But we also know that things that are artificial and processed and chemically made in a lab are also not good for our health. So I hate to break it to you guys, but sugar or sugar sweeteners need to be used in minimal amounts. At first, especially if you're someone who has a lot of sugar or a lot of sugar substitutes, this is going to be a challenge for you, but you can do it if you slowly start to decrease your consumption. If you go cold turkey, it's going to be much harder to do. But if you usually put in, say, 2 packets of Splenda or 2 packets of Equal, or even 2 packets of Stevia, which I'm going to get to in a second, and you start to decrease the amount that you maybe go from 2 to 1 packet, that's going to be better. If you usually put 2 teaspoons of sugar, go from 2 teaspoons to 1 sugar, say in your coffee or tea, that's going to be better. Now, what I'll have to say about things like Stevia is, yes, it comes from a plant. It is a stevia extract is a great alternative if it's in fact just stevia extract. But you're going to come to find that when you read the ingredients of a lot of these artificial sweeteners, it's not just the stevia plant. It's stevia with dextrose or maltodextrin. There's other additives to it. And that's defeating the purpose of you then choosing a non-artificial source. So I hope this was helpful and allowed you to come up with your sugar substitutes or consuming less sugar on a regular basis. I will say that we know that it's the overall diet that makes or breaks your health. So it's not going to be this one little area that's really going to impact your overall health. However, depending on how much of the sugar or sugar substitutes you're consuming, it might play a bigger role in some of you than others. So with that, I'm going to leave it up to you to make your best guess and your best decision for you and your health. And remember that it's small changes over time that leads to big results. And this is just one little habit that you can work on improving, but will actually in the long run impact your health in big ways, because this one little habit will lead to another little habit and they'll all add up and eventually make a big impact on your health. Thank you so much for listening. This is Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Have a healthy day.